The universe, vast, strange, and yet very beautiful, and very terrifying. Gielinor, out of all worlds, is a perfect world, a perfect design, for it was designed by those who have made worlds thousands of times over, and suns, and moons, and stars. The Elder Gods have been shaping the universe for untold eons. What came before them is beyond the scope and comprehension of even time itself. Jas, Bik, Wen, Fool, and Ma. These are the architects of the universe, and after they have shaped and built a world they are pleased with, they place the essence of themselves in the heart of this perfect world. This essence, or egg as we might call it, gathers the anima or life force of the world around it and absorbs it into itself, preparing for the time it needs to hatch from its shell. When the time comes and the egg has absorbed enough anima, it hatches. The young Elder Gods then gain the memories and knowledge of their predecessors through a simple touch. There is just one last thing to do: consume all the anima on their perfect home planet before setting off into the cosmos to destroy the universe so that they can remake it again. This is called the Great Revision. This reordering of the universe is not in pursuit of some kind of cosmic perfection. The Elder Gods are not some kind of cosmic artist. They are like any other life. They do what they do to survive and ensure the continuation of their kind. The Elder Gods weren't even aware that life as we would come to understand it even existed for a very long time. So when they destroy the universe, it isn't with malevolence in mind. No, it's just necessary. And that, my friends, is the origins of Runescape. You are simply ants going about your lives adventuring and slaying beasts in a world that isn't yours and that you aren't destined to inherit. But life does not always give in so easily. Long ago, before the last revision of the universe, there was a race of beings that came to understand the nature of these Elder Gods. They were called the Dragonkin, a race of extremely powerful and long-lived warriors, scholars, and scientists who had researched these strange Elder Gods for ages, and they did not wish to see themselves extinguished as a candle before a tidal wave. They knew that soon the universe would be unmade, and so they went to one place that they knew the Elder Gods couldn't touch. They hurled themselves into the abyssal plane. The abyss is simply a plane of existence that exists outside of the universe proper and only serves to hold it and other planes together. In the abyss, the Dragonkin hid for ages, and when they re-emerged, they came upon a reordered universe. It wasn't long before they found the Elder Gods' perfect creation of Gielinor, and so they settled down again. The Dragonkin were not a race that simply wanted to run from their problems, though, and now they had an entire cycle of existence for which they could find a way to cut these so-called gods down to size. The Dragonkin founded the city of Orthen prior to the first recorded age of history on Gielinor some 60,000 years ago. It was in Orthen that a Dragonkin named Kerapak began research for possible solutions to their little problem, though he probably could not have imagined where he would find his answer. After the revision of the universe, and Gielinor was deemed the ideal world for the Elder Gods to place their eggs, the planet sprung up with new life, as it has a habit of doing in a world so rich with anima mundi. Some of this life eventually evolved through time into great predators of the wilds. It was one of these great animals that eventually, unintentionally, stumbled on something that it couldn't have any comprehension of and yet was drawn to all the same. It was one of the elder artifacts that had been left behind by the Elder Gods after their revision. One of the tools responsible for making and unmaking a universe lay next to this wild animal. This artifact specifically would become known as the Codex. The Codex was unique in that it served to mend dangerous rips in the newly created universe. These rips, if not properly mended, would spill shadow anima into the world. Anima is to shadow anima like matter is to antimatter. If they come into contact with each other, it can have devastating results. It just so happened that this codex was trying to contain a rip in the shadow realm when this wild animal happened to stumble upon it. Sensing the life force of the beast nearby, the shadow anima the codex sought to contain lashed out and imbued itself within the beast. As absorption of vast quantities of anima can lead to immense power, as gods like Zamorak and Saradomin are examples, so too can the absorption of shadow anima also yield great power, though a power of a different nature. And the vast quantity of shadow anima that had escaped from the Codex now empowered this former wild animal to the heights that would rival a god. The Dragonkin would discover this beast some time later, after establishing outposts to map the region. They had never seen anything like it before. It acted as a perfect apex predator, and was clearly intelligent beyond that of the other creatures. They named it Raksha, or Colossus in their tongue. It was clear that this was no ordinary animal, and the Dragonkin sought to capture it for study, though this would not be an easy feat. As powerful as the Dragonkin were, this beast was given incredible powers and could plant powerfully debilitating visions in the minds of others. Raksha slaughtered the first group of Dragonkin who tried to subdue it, but was eventually brought to heel by a hunter named Varanus, though he too died of his wounds later. Once the Raksha was contained, it wasn't long until the beast drew the interest of the scientist Kerapak. After establishing extra security and containment measures, Kerapak set to work. First, there is something you must understand about Dragonkin. They are extremely powerful, and they've accumulated knowledge over perhaps millions of years that allows them to alter and change the very fabric of life. In our world, we would call this gene manipulation, but they do it at an extremely adept level. Kerapak was able to use Raksha to create new breeds of animals. These prototypes of Kerapaks would also serve him later as the earliest forms of what would become the modern-day dragons we see all over Gielinor, as all dragons are merely experiments of Kerapaks. Through his research, Kerapak was able to deduce that the power Raksha wielded was not inherent to the beast, but that something had mutated it into its current form. Kerapak traveled back to Raksha's original hunting grounds, but was unable to find the source of the beast's power. After years of study, Kerapak used Raksha to understand the properties of shadow anima. This allowed him to craft a device that would transform Anima Mundi into shadow anima. He hypothesized that this would be extremely toxic to the Elder Gods, and would grant his kind the power to actually kill them, and thereby stop the eternal cycle of cosmic revisions. The leaders of the Dragonkin tribes, known as the Kindra Council, deliberated as to what to do about Kerapak's device, as some were skeptical of what the Elder Gods would do should they discover the Dragonkin had a device that could threaten them. At the time, Kerapak agreed to follow the Council's warnings and not activate the device, though he later activated it in secret. He had hoped that this accumulation of shadow anima would weaken and even kill the Elder Gods, allowing the Dragonkin to usurp the creators and destroyers of worlds and become the most powerful beings in the universe. They say pride comes before fall, and fall they did. The Elder Gods were well aware of their weakness to shadow anima, as they had created the Codex to try and contain it when it threatened to seep into their reality. The immense amounts of it being created by Kerapak's device immediately set the oldest and most powerful Elder God, Jas, into action. This was the first real threat the Elder Gods had experienced, as well as their first encounter with sentient life not created by them. You could say the Dragonkin left a bad first impression. Jas first had to deal with the threat of shadow anima, and so she obliterated the Dragonkin city of Orthen, putting a stop to the device's emission of the toxic substance. Although some of the Kindred Council had probably speculated that this could have been a possibility, none of them could have foreseen what their actual fate would be. Jas, who had now witnessed life for the first time not of their creation, was not angry at Kerapak's attempt on their life. Emotions, feelings, and concepts of hatred are all foreign to the Elder Gods. They know only one thing: utility and purpose. All life they had created was given a purpose. For example, the Takhar were created to sculpt the mountains and lands of Gielinor. The Dragonkin, on the other hand, were seen as purposeless, a flaw in design. A correction needed to be made. Jas saw the Dragonkin desired power and lacked purpose. Being the perfect architect that she was, she sought to solve both problems at once. She connected the life force of all Dragonkin with her artifact, the Catalyst, otherwise known as the Stone of Jas. This would make it so that any future life that tried to harness the power of the Elder Gods would cause the Dragonkin unimaginable physical suffering, but also increase their power. This way, the Dragonkin would destroy any threats to the Elder Gods in the future, and keep anything like what had happened at Orthen from ever happening again. The Dragonkin had gone from being the only ones capable of destroying the Elder Gods to being their unwilling protectors almost overnight. Jas had given them purpose. The Dragonkin were forced to endure vast amounts of physical suffering for thousands of years, as the Stone of Jas was still used by those who would become the new young gods of Gielinor. Some gave in to the massive pain and desire to destroy it caused, and became catalysts for destruction whenever the stone was used. They vowed to destroy all false users who wielded the stone. Some tried to sleep through the curse and place themselves in a deep hibernation in hopes that when they woke up, someone would have rid them of their plight. And if not, to sleep eternally was better than to live an eternity of suffering. But not Kerapak. Kerapak fought the curse, and was rewarded only with more pain for his efforts, but he did not care. There was only one thing that drove him now: hatred. Hatred for those that had bestowed this curse upon his kind. For over 60,000 years, Kerapak worked on a way to rid his kind of the Elder God's curse. He dissected the bodies of his own kind to try and find where this curse originated from inside of them. He couldn't find anything. Kerapak went on to create many kinds of dragons, all in his attempt to understand and cure his kind of the curse. He even managed to make clones of himself, though all of them perished save one, who would go by the name Vicendithus, and even called Kerapak his father, although Kerapak showed nothing but disdain for him. It is tragic that Kerapak's hatred of the Elder Gods in many ways made him like them, as his drive to end the curse consumed any moral he once had. The millennia went by and eventually new races came to Gielinor. Kingdoms sprung up, and conflict and prosperity alike filled the once empty world. Kerapak continued his research, but as it would all lead to naught, he eventually decided to take a more direct approach. But even as Kerapak worked through intensive research and experimentation to find a cure, he was surprisingly not the first to find it. For another had found a way of severing the curse from their body, but it involved a rather peculiar set of affairs. And what of the Elder Gods? Jas, Bik, Wen, Fool, and Ma. Ma would have been like her other siblings except for the fact that she was born stunted and weak. The reason for this was that the massive amount of anima required to nourish an Elder God had been stolen by someone or something. And then there's the fact that there are not 5, but 6 Elder Gods. And for some reason, everyone is very hesitant to speak on this. Azanadra refuses to speak on it in detail and only tells us that there are 6 elder gods, 5 of form and 1 of something else. But if we are to solve our current crisis, I suspect we may need look to the deep places of the world and the shadows for radical solutions. It's hard to imagine that the vibrant world of Gielinor could have been created by such bizarre beings as the Elder Gods. The Elder Gods kind of remind me of a cross between one of Lovecraft's great old ones and a super powerful artificial intelligence. And being in the chamber when you confront Joss as the World Guardian, all you can hear is the grinding of stone as it rotates around her frame, like some kind of ancient clock. The Elder Gods embody the essence of cosmic horror. And speaking of cosmic horror, we're just getting started. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I thank you very much for watching. Until next time.